What's up, guys? UFC 272 just wrapped up and the card was pretty decent. The co-main event and main event weren't the most action-packed fight, right? They weren't super exciting, but the rest of the main card really delivered. And overall, everything was pretty solid. I want whatever Salty Amato's on, man. That guy was tripping the whole night. But the main event pretty much went down how we thought it was going to go. Colby Covington wins by a decision, 49-44. 50-45 and 50-44. Pretty much won every single round. Even the one he got dropped in, he was able to win that round as well. Now, I know the judging criteria could be a bit iffy on that specific round. I think that's a good example of where landing one single punch is not going to give Jorge the round over, Colby stunning him at times in that round, landing good combinations, landing his own big shots as well. So it seemed like the cumulative damage from Colby was able to get over the immediate from Jorge Masvidal because he only had one big punch. Before that happened, Colby landed like a 14 or 15 punch combination on him that seemed to have stunned Jorge. And then add up everything else that happened in that round, I guess it would slightly lean to Colby's side. But man, for the entire fight, Colby was just out-wrestling him. I mean, from years ago, them sparring together, he was out-wrestling Jorge back then. He showed to do it again in the fight, years later. And one thing I hope Jorge doesn't give any excuses over this. He's never been the guy to do that, but we did hear him say, not on the mic, but, we're going to see after this, and Colby just beat him in a fight. It's not going to be much different in the street either, right? If anything, it's going to favor Colby Covington. So that whole thing, I find it kind of cringe, when you lose an MMA fight, and then afterward you're like saying, we're going to see on the streets or something. Like, it is kind of cringe, to be honest. I mean, we all understand that they don't like each other. We all understand that Jorge wants to get back at Colby at some point. But being humble in defeat is something that's more important than all of this. Because not only did Colby beat him in the wrestling, he beat him in the striking as well. And that deserves respect. You can't be too emotional when you go into the fight like that. For an example, Kamaru Usman. The reason why he's able to beat Colby Covington, because he was never in his emotions. And Colby showed tonight, no matter how emotionally driven the fight is, no matter how high the tensions are, he's always going to fight intelligent. He is not going to get away from the game plan. Unless he hurts you and he sees an opportunity to knock you out. He'll do that against anybody. It's not really a factor of hatred for his opponent. But it just shows that, Colby, who is not as experienced as Jorge, showed his veteran side in this fight. And that performance was commendable. I know a lot of people thought it was boring. I know a lot of people thought that, Colby didn't really look that good. I think people are confusing looking good and looking exciting. Because Colby's been looking exciting. When he fights Usman, when he fights Tyron Woodley, when he fights Robbie Lawler, when he fights Damian Maia. He's exciting to watch. But now that he uses his wrestling to win, as well as landing some good shots, people don't think he looked as good. No, he showed his entire MMA skill set better than most of his other performances. I think Colby tonight looked really good. And Jorge couldn't find his way past Colby's wrestling and his left hand. Now that all comes into the question, is Colby the second best welterweight in the world? There's a lot of people that believe he isn't, but there's more people that believe he is. It's mostly people that really despise Colby on a personal level that don't want to give him that kind of credit. I do agree with one thing. I do want to see him fight Gilbert Burns eventually, just to solidify who is the second best welterweight. Right now, I will say it is Colby Covington, but Gilbert Burns is pretty close. And that's the biggest thing coming out of all of this. But who do these two guys fight next? For Colby Covington, he needs another win, for sure, like 2 or 3 maybe. It's really going to depend what happens with the rest of the weight class. But as of what we see right now, Leon Edwards is getting a title shot against Usman. Vicente Luque is fighting Bilal Muhammad. It looks like the winner of that is going to get a title shot. Gilbert Burns is going to be fighting Hamza Chimaev. Now this is interesting for Colby, who is the #1 contender. If Burns beats Hamzat, then you should put together Colby and Burns. If Hamzat beats Burns, then Colby should fight the winner of Luque and Muhammad. Because this is how it's going to play out. Hamzat wins, he's getting an immediate title shot over everybody. We all know that. If Burns beats Hamzat, then the winner of Luque and Muhammad is going to get that title shot. Therefore, Colby should be fighting Burns in that scenario, and in the scenario that Hamzat beats Burns, then you do Colby versus the winner of Luque and Muhammad. As for Jorge Masvidal, the title run is done for him, I think. If he was younger, he could make his way back, but he's 37 years old. He's made a lot of money, man. He doesn't need the title. I think a fight with Nate Diaz would be the perfect fight. Put that one back together. I know a lot of people would love to see it. But if he wants to go and fight another contender, maybe he can rematch Wonderboy Thompson. I think that's a fight that Jorge would actually want back. I think he would want to fight Wonderboy again. And then we go to the co-main event. RDA defeats Renato Moicano by a decision. Dominant decision. Absolutely tore Moicano apart. And it made everybody wish that Islam was in there. Islam Makhachev versus RDA should have probably been the fight that everybody wanted to see. Fiziev, I believe, would have been a better fight as well. I thought Moicano would have done better on the ground, but RDA's wrestling showed to be so dominant. His left hand was on point, his kicks were on point. He said he was ring rusted. That's crazy. We saw an RDA ring rusted do that to Moicano. That is impressive, but we have to give the respect to Renato Moicano. I mean, he didn't need to take the fight. And not only that, he fought his heart out. He went 5 rounds where he could have called it quit at any moment and nobody would have blamed him. But he went the whole way through. Doctor was constantly called to the corner to look at him. He was busted and battered. It still went to a decision with RDA. First time going 5 rounds in his entire career, and he did against a former champion. And I'm loving RDA lightweight again. Physically, he looks better now than he did before, even though he's older. And that's something you don't normally see. Like him and Jose Aldo, the older they got, the better they're able to acclimate into a lower weight class. I know some people are going to bring up USADA, but I don't think so, man. Look at RDA's physique. Right now, he would look like he's on something. And I'm pretty sure he's not. The guy's ripped beyond his mind right now. And who he should be fighting next? Are they going to put together the Fiziev fight again? I think off of this, because RDA stuck with our replacement opponent, I want to see him fight Michael Chandler. If Chandler's not going to fight Tony Ferguson, if that fight doesn't get put together, RDA versus Chandler is perfect. If Poirier still wants to fight ranked contenders, RDA is a perfect opponent for him as well. Or he could wait for the loser of Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. Any of these fights are perfect for RDA. I don't think he wants to look down in the rankings again, but he is the guy that fights anybody. And then we go to Bryce Mitchell, dominating Edson Barboza. He got 30-25, 30-26, and 30-27. Man, wrestling was the thing tonight. Bryce Mitchell was able to get Barboza to the ground, some of it not by the usual means. He actually dropped Barboza with a left hand, which is something nobody would have ever thought. Bryce Mitchell never really showed to have the greatest striking, really power-wise, but able to drop Barboza with a left hand like that? Is that more about Mitchell's power? Or is it about Barboza's chin being gone, right? And after that left hand landed, Barboza was not able to get back in the fight because grinding in the wrestling, constantly transitioning on top of Barboza, landing ground and pound shots. After that first round, really after the second, Barboza was not the same guy anymore. He was tired. It looks like he just isn't comfortable in front of any wrestler. Even though he's shown in the past to have good takedown defense, he seems to panic too much in front of them, and it was just a great performance for Bryce Mitchell. I did not think he would look that good out there. Definitely exceeded my expectations on him, and man, being Barboza like that, who's ranked number 10, that's going to put Mitchell right into the top 10 as well. And who I want to see him fight is probably Dan Ige. Dan Ige versus Bryce Mitchell will be a good fight because they're both well-rounded, and Ige's definitely going to test that wrestling. He's going to be a hard guy to take to the ground. And as for Edson Barboza, I think it's getting close for him, man. I don't see him fighting that much longer. But if he's going to fight anybody at this point, maybe Sadiq Youssef or Alex Caceres. Either of those guys makes sense. And then we go to Kevin Holland getting the TKO victory over Alex Oliveira. And I was telling everybody, this was going to be a close fight. Alex Oliveira was completely written off, right? I believe Holland was the second biggest favorite on the entire card. Yet in the entire first round, Oliveira was taking over from takedowns, landing his right hand, the kicks, getting away from Holland's. Right, Holland is 6'3" with an 81-inch reach. He went back in the corner and he told his coaches he's too far away. He's having a problem with the range of Alex Oliveira. Even though Oliveira is shorter in every which way, he's so fast to explode from a distance, it was catching Kevin Holland off guard. Right, these welterweights are faster than the middleweights, and Holland saw that firsthand. Until he was able to land that one shot. It was exactly like I was saying. If Holland's going to win, it's going to be because he just catches Oliveira in some kind of exchange. He had a weird angle he stepped off from. In usual fights, he would get cracked by the right hand of an orthodox fighter, but he got Oliveira to move, which was very interesting. He stepped in deep into Oliveira's right hand, but Oliveira did not throw it. Instead, he moved his head to the left side, leaning away, and Holland intercepted him with a right hook. A very scary exchange between the two. And that ultimately led to the end of the fight. And it's a good first victory for Kevin Holland in that welterweight division in the UFC. Alex Oliveira is like a good opponent who's outside the top 15. If we're doing rankings outside of the top 15, Oliveira is probably like number 17, number 18. Which means that Kevin Holland's next fight should probably be against a top 15 fighter. Because in the middleweight division, he was top 10. And it's sad when you look at number 14, 13, 12. It's Jeff Neal, Li Jingliang, and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Two of those guys have already been thrown against younger competition. They're going to do it again with Kevin Holland. Number 15 is Shavkat Rakhmonov. And I don't think they're going to put that fight together. I don't think they want to hurt either of these prospects. Jeff Neal already fought Kevin Holland and got knocked out before. Maybe they put it together again. Or if they really want to go up in the rankings, they can throw Kevin Holland, Michael Chiesa. I personally want to see him fight Li Jingliang. Just for the stylistic matchup, that would be an interesting one. or even Ponzinibbio, that would be fun as well. Sergey Spivak does his thing, made it easy. Take him to the ground, TKO through ground and pound. Greg Hardy he's just not at this level, man. He has good power, he's fast, he's athletic, he's a big guy. He probably walked into the cage at 290, but even though Spivak is smaller, the takedown came way too easy for him. Jalin Turner had the performance of his career, absolutely blowing right through Jimmy Mullarkey, who Mullarkey's been doing great things as well. That's a solid win, man. His precision was just on point. That was the big difference between the two. Jalin Turner had his targets sighted perfectly whenever they were in exchanges. Turner was the aggressor in this fight, and whenever he came forward throwing punches, Mullarkey was just trying to slip his head, and he just couldn't get his head away from Turner's punches. Both of his hooks, the left hooks and right hooks, Turner was just on point with everything he was throwing tonight. The next fight for him I would love to see is him versus Drew Dober. Imagine Jalin Turner versus Drew Dober. That would be insane, man. I do have to catch up with the rest of the fights, so I hope you guys enjoyed the fights. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to give this a thumbs up. Enjoy my content. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell. Remember, always hit the bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.